Welcome to the latest episode of the PodcAls. I'm Joey Alfieri with you every week. Every Tuesday, we have the Anglo Pod, and every Thursday, we go with the French one. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. We've got a very, very busy show lined up for you today. We're going to be joined by the newest defensive tackle, or technically one of the two newest defensive tackles on the Montreal Alouettes, Mr. Derek Wiggan. After 7 years with the Calgary Stampeders, Derek Wiggan's coming out east, and he's going to play for the Montreal Alouettes in 2024. So we'll talk to Derek in just a couple of minutes, and I want to take this opportunity to remind you that 3-game packs, 5-game packs, flex 10s, and season tickets are available at goalsgo.com. The 3-game pack, 5-game pack, pretty self-explanatory, right? You pick any 3 games you like, pick any 5 games you like, and you get tickets to those games. So you can actually pick your games right now on the Montreal Alouettes website already, goalsgo.com. The Flex 10, very interesting. So you get 10 tickets for the season, and you can use them however you like. If you want to use 6 tickets for one game and 4 for another, you can do that. If you want to use 8 tickets for one game and 2 for another, you can do that. If you want to go to 10 games by yourself, which isn't a bad thing, by the way, I've been to games by myself, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You get to focus and zone in on, what the team is doing without anyone asking you questions or anyone saying, hey, you want to go get some food or whatever. I mean, you get to chill. You get to go at your own pace. So that's the Flex 10. You can use 10 tickets anytime you like, and at Percival Molson Stadium in 2024. So go out there, goalsgo.com, check out the season membership as well. Had them in my family for a long time, and I hope that you'll join us at Percival Molson Stadium this year as well. All right, I want to take this opportunity, since we're going to talk about Derek Wiggan, or we're going to talk to Derek Wiggan. I wanted to look at the defensive line now that free agency's kind of come and gone, and maybe there's going to be some signings here and there. But I want to take a look at the Alouettes defensive line, and particularly at defensive tackle, what they've done this winter. I think they've done a phenomenal job in building the defense and building that defensive line. Because if you remember, let's call a spade a spade. The first half of last year, not that it was a rough first half, because the Alouettes did win their fair share of games. They were pretty much locked into second place for the entire year in the East Division. But think about the big changes that they made in season, right? They started the season with Nick Usher and Jamal Davis at defensive end. And Nick Usher was the first one to get released, and he resurfaced in BC. And I believe he just signed a free agent deal with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Jamal Davis, who also just re-signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats last week, he was eventually released a bit later on in the season. But the Alouettes revamped the defensive end spots. And look, when you get pressure, I know that we often look at defensive ends to lead the way in the sack department, or edge rushers to lead in the sack department. But the thing is, the pressure, if you remember the Owls defense, it comes from all over, right? Like Mustafa Johnson does a great job of getting pressure up the middle. Tyrese Beverett, Reggie Stubblefield come off the edges at times, and they can get pressure on the quarterbacks as well. Think about all the times that you've seen Wesley Sutton come in from the defensive back spot and make plays around the line of scrimmage. The Owls can use a safety blitz as well with Marc-Antoine Dequoy. So in Northrop's defense, the pressure comes from all over. It's a bit unpredictable as a defense, because you never know who's coming, who's going. Is Sankey coming? Is Beverett coming? You never know who's going to bring the pressure if you're the opposing offense. So it's kind of tough to prepare for that way. So I really like that part of the defense. But obviously most of the pressure, I think a lot of players have said it on this very podcast, have said, I remember Jess Hernandez was saying Lemon arriving made a big difference on and off the field. And it's true. And you think back to Luol Uguak, who signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at what Uguak was able to do, and he was really, really good, and he became better and better as the season went on. And that eventually, Lemon's arrival and Uguak's emergence allowed the Alouettes to go in a different direction at defensive end. And when you make those changes in the middle of the season, you probably think to yourself like, ooh, there's a certain level of desperation there. I don't think it was desperation. I think they wanted production for sure. But I also think that you had guys waiting. One guy was on the street, one guy was in your organization, and you were able to make the change, and all of a sudden things went well, and your defense was virtually unbeatable after the middle of September. So, yes, re-signing Lemon, big. He signed in December on a 1 year deal. Uguak went to the NFL, like we mentioned, so you got to replace him. And I think, last week, if you watched the Facebook or the live we did on social media on all our platforms, I spoke to Isaac Adeyemi Berglund, who's also coming over from Calgary, one of Derek Wiggan's best friends. And he's the guy who is going to come in there and he's going to try to fill that void. He's another Canadian who comes in, who's going to step in for Uguak, and you're going to hope to get some production there. And so I'll take you behind the scenes a little bit with that one, and then we'll get into the defensive tackles. Obviously, I think I forget who had the report. I don't know if it was the TSN guys or the three down guys, had the report that Adeyemi Berglund was going to sign with the Alouettes. Came out in the middle of the tampering window, communication window that the CFL has, which I love. But it came out the week before. So Shawn Lemon, Brock Gowanlock, and I did a radio hit on TSN radio during the communication week. And so I knew that Lemon was very familiar with Adeyemi Berglund because they had played together in Calgary. So I asked him, I said, hey, man, if this gets done, like, what type of player can we expect? And Lemon was glowing. Like, Shawn Lemon loves Isaac Adeyemi Berglund, thinks that he can give him a little bit of guidance and that he can hit the next level. And so I really like that signing. And I like when players like the signings as well. And Shawn Lemon isn't just watching games. He's played with the guy before, knows he's talented. And I mean, together, Adeyemi Berglund had 8 sacks a couple of years ago, had 5 sacks, and he's been a rotational guy in Calgary. So now an adjustment's going to have to be made because he's going to play more snaps on defense. But what I liked about what he said, and if you missed it, you should really go back and watch the free agent special because we did talk to a few guys, including Al's GM, Danny Machocha. But Adeyemi Berglund, one of our listeners was saying or was asking, hey, when are you coming to Montreal? And I'm glad he did because I didn't know that Isaac was coming to Montreal in March because he wants to be here and wants to work out with Lemon and wants to be in the building around his new teammates. And to me, for a guy who's probably going to play more than he ever has before, I think that's a big deal that you want to get yourself familiar here and you want to be around the group and around the facility and you want to be around a veteran like Shawn Lemon. So I like that signing a lot. Of all the free agents the Al signed, I think he's the only one that got a 2 year deal. So that was a big time deal, which I really liked. And then the other one, I mean, we'll talk to Derek Wiggan in a moment, but obviously Armando Sewell was released, and so they signed Dylan Wynn. So, look, I really like Mondo. I think Mondo still has some good years left. I think he mentioned on Twitter that he wants to play 1 more year. And I think he can be productive in that role. But when you go from a 37-year-old to a 30-year-old, you do want to get a little younger at that time. And Dylan Wynn's a great player. Like Armando Sewell is going to the Hall of Fame. None of this has anything to do. What I'm about to say has nothing to do with the way Mondo played or didn't play. I really like Mondo. I have a lot of respect for him and his career, and he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Dylan Wynn is a little different. I feel like he's a little bit more of a disruptor. And I think I mentioned to Dylan Wynn last week when we spoke to him. If you missed that interview, go check it out as well. Um, every time I looked at the depth chart, every time I looked at what the Alouettes were going up against when they played the Tiger Cats, I always looked to see if Dylan Wynn was healthy in the lineup and whatnot because he's such a disruptor, always around the ball, such a good player. That it always bothered me. There's not many players like that around the league where I'm like, I check to see if they're playing, and it bothers me that the Alouettes are playing against them. And Dylan Wynn was one of those guys. So, keep in mind in Noel Thorpe's defense, you do see a lot of 30 front, which is, 3 linemen and 4 linebackers for the most part. And, there is a little mix of a 40 front, which is obviously 4 defensive linemen. But, it'll be interesting to see how they line everybody up because I do think that Dylan Wynn needs to play in the middle. I think that Derek Wiggan needs to play in the middle as well. But Mustafa Johnson, even though he does play defensive tackle and that's where he's made his money and his bread and butter with the Alouettes, or he's buttered his bread that way with the Alouettes. Sorry. I think Mustafa Johnson's athletic enough and skilled enough that he could probably bounce to the outside at times. So I think there's a time where we can see 3 down linemen and Mustafa Johnson and Dylan Wynn on the field at the same time? Absolutely. And I think that's where Derek Wiggan's acquisition is going to be important because Derek Wiggan, making that backup defensive tackle spot, or not even backup, that rotational defensive tackle spot, Canadian, is going to be important for the ratio because if you want to, let's say, bring on Dylan Wynn in a three-man front and you want to move Mustafa Johnson to the outside at defensive end and you want to have Shawn Lemon on the field, well, you need to have a Canadian elsewhere, right? And so that can come in the form of Tyrell Richards playing linebacker. He can be that linebacker, that spot that Avery Williams occupied last year after Sankey arrived. Or if you want to have Mustafa Johnson on the outside and you want to have Shawn Lemon on the outside, you could put Derek Wiggan in the middle. And he can fit right in there, and he could be that Canadian if you're going to take Adeyemi Berglund off the field. So having that rotational guy who can play, a guy who's played a lot of snaps in Calgary, has had a really good career, won a Grey Cup, went from fourth round pick out of Queens to being a regular on the Stampeders defense for, almost a decade is remarkable. And he's 31 years old. He's going to be 32 in the summer. But yeah, I think it gives you a lot of flexibility there to have a guy who's very capable of playing at a high level uh, inside on that defensive line. And so, look, I think when you want to go with four defensive linemen, then you can have Derek Wiggan there. You can move Mustafa Johnson to the outside. You can have Dylan Wynn on the inside. And so I think that's the way that you might see Mustafa Johnson, Dylan Wynn, and Derek Wiggan all on the field at the same time. I certainly think that can happen. So I think, look, as much as everybody wants to play all the time, I do think that when you have a rotation, you can keep guys fresh. And I'm a big fan of keeping guys fresh because the deeper you go into games, if you have a game where your defense is on the field a lot, but you can get that rotation in and the players rotating in are quality, then I think it's a really big deal. So I like what they did with Dylan Wynn. I like what they did with Derek Wiggan, Isaac Adeyemi, Berglund, very good. So the Owls defensive line was good, was really, really good last year, obviously in the second half of the season, getting pressure and making plays. But the other thing is, they did invest even more money into the defensive line, and they had to replace Uguak, and they did have to replace Sewell. But I really do like what they've done on the defensive line this year. I feel like they've made a good push and they've spent some money. And I think, look, I think it's clear that this team played its best when they were able to pressure the quarterback and protect their own quarterback. So, spending money on the quarterback is vital. And we saw Cody Fajardo get a new deal. Getting wide receivers and getting playmakers at running back and defensive backs is all great. But I do think that in football, winning in the trenches really gives you the best opportunity to win. And you need skill players. That's not what I'm saying. But I think it's the most, it's a job that people, they don't look down on. They just maybe don't notice as much in the game, especially on the offensive line. So the Owls are bringing back 7 of 9 guys on the offensive line that they used last year. They've invested heavily in the defensive line. So I'm a big fan of what they've done. And we'll see how it all plays out. Training camp coming up, Saint Jerome, the month of May, the middle of May. We don't have exact dates just yet, but can't wait for training camp to begin. And I hope you'll come join us because those practices are always open. So I hope you'll come join us. Talk to me, yap with the players after practice. The guys love having some support for those training camp days because they are very, very long. Our next guest, defensive tackle, longtime Calgary Stampeder, just signed with the Montreal Alouettes in free agency last week. He's Derek Wiggan. Derek, what's going on, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just enjoying my Monday morning, relaxing. Just had some steak and eggs for dinner. For breakfast.
For breakfast, is that every morning, steak and eggs?
Nah, I treated myself today. I had some time today, so I treated myself.
Okay, so walk me through. Are you barbecuing? Well, first of all, where are you? Are you in Calgary?
I'm in Calgary right now. I'm in Calgary. Just at my place in Calgary. Just enjoying the sleep in family day over here.
Are you barbecuing on the balcony or anything like that, or are you?
No, I just got it on the stovetop. I got a gas stove, so I just got my just put it on the frying pan and just kind of season it up and let it do its thing.
You're not a well done steak kind of guy, are you?
Medium,
Okay.
medium rare. Maybe a little less than medium rare. How about you?
I'm medium. Medium rare on occasion. If it's cooked for me, medium rare, then
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. If I'm doing the cooking, I try to hit medium.
yeah.
But I don't understand. There are some of your new teammates that like their steak well done. like call the fire department and then that's when it's ready.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I can't get on board with that.
No, it's just you. It's just gotta get used to just like you gotta play around with like the nice thing about cooking at home. You got to play around with the different. Okay, how's rare? Okay, that might not be as well. Medium rare. Okay, that's where it is. So
um, all right, on the football side, we'll get to some fun stuff in a little
yeah,
bit. I mean, you got drafted to Calgary in 2014. You started. I think your first season there was 2015 after you went back to
yeah.
school. I mean, it must have been an emotional process. I'm sure you're thrilled to be in Montreal, but I'm sure it's been emotional. Have you had time to reflect on it ending in Calgary?
I've like I always thought it was a possibility. Like the amount of guys that like have great careers and like left Calgary. The Charleston Hughes, the Nick Lewis's, the even recently Lemon and Flo, and just all those things where it's like, what, it's a possibility. It always is. It's still even like the first week, like it's kind of like, man, like looks like this is gonna happen. But like I'm so excited to be joining Montreal. I'm like more than I'm super excited just to get there. It's just summer new, and also like a new like a team that has a lot of success, and being able to join and be a part of that.
Um, so I'm curious what was the free agency window process? What was it like for you? Like, how was first contact made between you and the Als? And then, what did they mention to kind of sell you on Montreal? And what were some of the questions you maybe had for them?
No, it was kind of a unique experience because like I worked during the day. So like I had my agent like pretty much do most of the things. So he reached out to me and he was just like, yeah, like Montreal's interested. What you think? I'm just like, yeah, like I've heard a lot of good things. Like I've heard a lot of good things about Coach Moss from current players, like guys that were with him when he was in Edmonton. A lot of positive things. And then, just positive things about Coach Thorpe and just positive things about the locker room in general. I was like, yeah, of course I'll be interested. Then, things progressed to a point where it's like, okay, yeah, like let's do this thing. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, all right, like this is like this like this is exciting. It's like, okay, like this is really like I'm really leaving. So yeah, like I was more excited. Like, yeah, like I like what Montreal does. Like I like the team does a lot of really good things. Like just playing against them, I was just, yeah, let's do this.
What do you do for work in the off season? How do you keep busy?
So I'm a commercial insurance broker.
Wow.
So basically, small businesses, those type of things. I've been doing that for the past 3 years. Past 3 years, I've been doing that in the off season. So my typical day, I wake up at like 5 a.m., get my workout in, shower, hit the showers, go to work, and then come home and chilling. So that's pretty much Monday to Friday.
I'm sure, unlike football, you don't get to smack people around in insurance, but how often do you want to?
Oh, you get those a couple clients that like they just cut like you pick up the phone, they're coming in hot. They're coming in hot, and you're just like, let me just bring up your file first to see what's going on. So sometimes, but like there's certain situations where I understand like the frustration sometimes, but it's also like I'm just the middleman.
Yeah. Last week is funny. Last week we had you were supposed to join us. We had some
Yeah,
technical difficulties on our end, but we had Isaac Adiemi Berglund join
yeah,
us on our live broadcast, and he said that you guys were BFFs. Like he said that you were his best friend. I don't
yeah.
know if he said Stampeders or if he said defensive line. Did he overblow that relationship? Are you really his best friend, or is he your best friend? Is it both? Is it mutual? And maybe just give me a little scouting report, a fun scouting report on Isaac.
Oh, it's definitely mutual. It's definitely mutual. Like, yeah, we go go out to eat, like go like just hang out a lot. A little fun thing about Isaac, like he's a pretty fashionable guy, so he's gonna be having the outfits, like he's gonna be having, the hats, the shoes, the fits. Like if you're doing any like walk pregame fits, like he's gonna be the guy like to look for.
So I'd asked Isaac the exact same question I'm about to ask you, and his answer honestly was pretty lame. He didn't want to poke any fun at Shawn Lemon, but since you guys both played with Lemon, I asked for an embarrassing Shawn Lemon story that I never heard before. And the young fella kind of buckled on me. And he was like, no, there's nothing, nothing embarrassing. Good guy, good player. I know that you'll give me the dirt on Lemon.
The dirt on Lemon. Oh man. Oh man. I'm trying to think what would be appropriate.
Okay, I'll give you some
uh,
time to. I'll give you some time. You want some time to think about it? We'll go on to
oh
something
yeah,
else.
give me some time. Give me some time. Let me
Okay.
let me think on it. It was one of the like yeah, it'd be yeah, give me some time. Give me some
Okay, I'll
time on
give you
that one.
some time. It sounds like you have some good ones that you're just deciding if you can tell us or not.
Yeah.
Um, but so like I've been watching the CFL for a long time, and I think I'm a little bit older than you. You're 31. I just turned 34, so I've been watching for years and years and years. So I'm very familiar with Shawn Lemon's game. I'm very familiar with your game too, but with Lemon in particular, when he arrived in July. I kind of knew what the Alouettes were getting. I figured that,
Yeah.
but it would be somebody who, a guy in his mid 30s. He's older than me, by the way. Just let's make that clear. Somebody older than me on the thing.
Yeah.
But he's somebody I knew would be a hard worker, talented guy. But I thought to myself when he got here, Derek, I thought, I know he's the West Division Defensive Player of the Year from the year before. I'm like, but it's going to take a month. I mean, the guy's been sitting on his couch since the end of training camp. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's going to take a month. Guy played the first game. It was against you guys, against
Yeah.
Calgary. Played well. The following week had an interception against Hamilton, and just it never slowed down. It was just crazy. I mean, were you surprised at all by how quick of an impact he was able to make with the Alouettes?
Oh, so you cut off a little bit there.
Sorry, were you surprised that the type of impact he made with the Alouettes and how quickly he made it?
Not at all. Not at all. Like I feel Lemon could probably play till he's about 50. It's being like the nice thing about being in Calgary was I got to be a lot of great D linemen and guys that just know how to get sacks. Lemon is one of those guys. He knows how to get sacks. He knows how to be productive. Like he could just the way he takes care of himself and just like his skill set, he's always working on his moves and his craft. So like he could get sack, he could play till he's 50 if he wanted to. So like I wasn't surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it. I wasn't surprised he was productive. I was just surprised how quickly he was. And I told him that. I said, man, I was expecting you to take a month to kind of just come in here and do what you do. And I was like, you proved me wrong. But it was it was a really nice fit. Glad he's back. And I mean, there's a lot of familiar faces there. I'm curious for you. I know you're doing what's best for your family, but we talked about Isaac, we talked about Lemon. I'm sure there's a couple other guys and you've played with on the team. How much, the familiarity with those guys, especially in your position group, how much did that help you make the decision and land on Montreal?
No, because I referred to Lemon like I was just asked him some questions like how is it there? Like, he seemed like no, obviously it's a success, but he just seemed like, yeah, like here's a place where like they really camaraderie is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Team's a big thing. And you could tell through their play from that stretch run they had, like last year's team had, where they were just making plays on defense. Like they were playing together, they were playing hard. Like the whole playoffs they were underdogs, right? So just to go, you need a team that's willing to battle through all those things. And guys, a lot of familiarity there with guys that bit like we're in Calgary and other places together. Where like, yeah, like those like that group of guys on last year's team, they were ready for everything, and they were a tight knit group. You never seen a moment where like, oh, they're faltering. They were together the whole time, which is like super impressive.
Yeah. I mean, Lemon, I know when he was the build up to the 100th sack, as he got closer and closer, I remember having a conversation with him, and I was like, "Do you remember every sack?" And he's like, "Yeah, pretty much." He was almost able to break down each number against each team. I'm curious. For you, I know you don't have 100, but 16 for an interior lineman is
Yeah.
pretty impressive. Do you remember each of the 16?
Honestly, I remember the celebrations I did for a couple of them. Like I remember, yeah, I think it was in 19. I had two sacks for Toronto in Toronto. I did kind of like open up the safe, break down the door, open up the safe one. What else? I did in I think also in 19. I kind of hit a giddy up one when we played Hamilton. There was one particular year. I was on a little bit of a cold streak and I got one. I just like dropped to my knees and like looked to the heavens. This year we had a lot of like we had a like our that little probably that little March one that was kind of the theme. Me and Mike Rose and
Yeah.
Bot like we that was our theme for the year. There's other I more remember the celebrations than the sacks,
Yeah.
but like that's kind of the fun part. It's kind of like doing the celebrations and it's like okay.
Do you have your first Montreal sack celebration mapped out?
I have an idea what I want to do. I have an idea what I want to do. I'm saving a couple for certain teams.
Okay, when did the Alouette, without looking it up, when did the Alouettes play the Stampeders the first time?
July, early July.
uh, Quarterback that you enjoy sacking or hitting the most for whatever reason.
Oh, in the league or was in the league?
Either one.
I love going after Mike Riley. I love going after Mike Riley. Like he's just like great QB, a guy that like he's gonna stay in the pocket a little longer. He's gonna stay in the pocket a little longer. Go get him.
How about current?
Current. Oh, current. I would have to say I do want to get Bo. I do want to get Bo. I do want to get Bo.
Figured.
I do want to get Bo.
It's funny. I asked Dylan Wynn the same question last week,
Yeah.
and he said Bo. He said Bo.
Yeah. No, because like because I didn't get to play against him this past year, but being teammates and so on, it's like, yeah, you want to go get that old quarterback, right?
Yeah. Have you ever gotten a good hit on Fajardo?
Yes, I did in I believe it was in the 21 West semi. I got a pretty good hit on him. He still completed the pass, but I got a pretty good hit on him in that game. Yeah, no, I've chased around Fajardo for a long time, so it's nice to like no, I don't have to chase him around this year.
Is he like just when you go up against Cody, like take me into your mindset because he is a guy who does scramble around. Like we saw that in the Grey Cup too.
Yeah,
But your approach whenever you went up against Cody, like I'm just curious what the thought process was there.
he's stronger than you think he is. He's stronger. He's a little bit more elusive, a little more stronger than you think he is. So, arm tackle doesn't take him down, and it's also like he's going to make you pay if you miss on him.
Yeah.
Like either scrambling for the first down or completing the pass. It's one of those like when you have the opportunity to bring him down, you have to. But it's not something like you got to be really ready to like. Even when you like sometimes, yeah, I'm gonna really load up to take him out. He'll do a little juke move. He'll make you look a little silly. They like complete a pass for a first down. You're like, damn. But it's just like that. Always the thing with Cody. He always made like that. He always make that play, and you're just like, man, like if I was a little bit more under control, if I hit him a little harder. But he's just a gamer.
Yeah.
Gamer.
Yeah, I think the people in Montreal got to figure that out as the season went along.
Oh yeah.
It was fun. September the 14th is when you guys go to Calgary. I'm sure you knew that.
Yeah.
Who are you most like looking forward to playing and do you talk first of all when you play? Like, are you a talker, and who do you want to get after on that Calgary offense?
I'm not too much of a talker. I'm usually just like locked in. But it's gonna be funny just like kind of look at practicing against those guys for so long and to be like, okay, I'm on the other side. Like honestly I'll probably be talking to Mike Rose like on I see him around. I'll be talking trash to him. He's my dog over there. Like yeah, it'll be pretty much him on anytime I walk by their sideline. I'm gonna be looking to talk trash to him.
You're a Toronto guy, right? Were you born in Toronto?
Yeah, born and raised.
So did you spend considerable time at any point in your life in Montreal? Like, was there any, like, how much time did you spend here?
Oh, so I did a high school trip. I did to Montreal. My roommates in university went to Vanier.
Okay.
So for CJEP, so we had done a couple visits to Montreal to hang out with a couple of his friends over there. One of my really good friends from university, he lives in Montreal currently. So whenever we played in Montreal, I got to hang out with him as another friends there. So like, yeah, I'm pretty acclimatized to Montreal.
All right, last one before I let you go. That Lemon story, do you have a chance to settle on one?
Yeah. Okay. So we were playing Winnipeg, I believe, in 21. Um, and his jersey like ripped, and they put him in a New Jersey and with a different number. And the fans in Winnipeg, like they were just giving him a hard time, but it was pretty funny just because I think they gave him like 57. And it was pretty funny. Like they were, who's 57? Who's this guy? It was pretty fun. It was pretty funny.
Derek, we appreciate the time, man. Appreciate the stories. Thanks for making time for us. And we look forward to seeing you in training camp and on the field at Percival Molson with the good guys.
Oh, 100%. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks again to a veteran defensive tackle, Derek Wiggan. I don't know if that was I don't know if that was an embarrassing Shawn Lemon story, but it was a Shawn Lemon story nonetheless. All right, just a reminder that you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you download your podcast. If you're listening, you're obviously listening somewhere, but subscribe, leave a positive rating. We appreciate it. Leave a review if you'd like, and feel free to shout me out in my DMs. Like, come reach out to me, tell me. If you have any questions regarding the Alouettes, would love to get to them. If you want to hear from somebody in particular, a new player or a guy who's been around for a while, we're always looking for ideas. We're always open to that. So make sure you hit me up. You can find me at Joey Alfieri on X or Twitter or whatever you call it. You can find me on Facebook. Just search my name. You'll find me. And you can find me on Instagram as well. I have Alouettes friends from all over the country, all over the world, write to me, and we talk football. I answer as quickly as I possibly can. And sometimes people have a question. Sometimes people just want to share an opinion. Love talking Alouettes football and CFL football with everyone. So feel free to hit me up if you have any comments or questions. Hit me up. We'll even get to them on the podcast if you'd like. But it's been a whole lot of fun. A reminder that we do record the English podcast every Tuesday. We record the French podcast every Thursday. So if you're a bilingual Owls fan, you get both. I know that I hear from my American boys all over the United States and say, "Hey, we're trying to learn French." I got a couple messages from some fans in the States this week that told me, "Hey, we're learning. We're trying to pick up some French." I know that Carl wrote to me. He's out in Maryland. And he said that slowly but surely he's picking up French, but obviously enjoys the English podcast as well. So if you're a bilingual Owls fan, you get 2 podcasts a week. If you are unilingual, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Be sure to be locked into MontrealAlouettes.com. Every day, there's players that sign. You want to see behind the scenes what goes on here in football meetings and what goes on in the workplace with the Montreal Alouettes. Make sure you keep it locked in to MontrealAlouettes.com and follow us on all our social media platforms. Right now, you can find us. We're on TikTok. The TikTok page is bumping. We've had a lot of growth there. There's a lot of content that goes only on TikTok. There's some content that goes only on Instagram. Same for Twitter. Same for Facebook. So if you don't want to make sure that you don't miss out on all the content, then make sure you follow us on every page. Have a great rest of your week, everybody, and we'll see you again in 7 days.